And today I want to talk to you a little bit about Creative Commons images. I know that you really want to start embedding images in your blog, but we need to discuss Creative Commons. The main point I want you to understand is just because it is there on the internet does not mean that you have the right to take it or use it. I'm talking about using other people's work in our work. So how do you know if you can use someone else's images? First of all, we must assume that all work that does not belong to us is copyrighted. That means it belongs to someone else and you don't have the right to use it unless you're granted permission. The internet is a great thing though, and there are some sites that search only for works or media that very generous people have granted us permission to use. This is known as Creative Commons. Compfight, which I'm going to show you today, is a great search engine that, if told to, will only search Flickr for Creative Commons images. These are the images that we are allowed to use, but there are some conditions sometimes. Below you can see some of the license conditions, and they each have a specific symbol. This little circle here that looks like a person is attribution. If you see this symbol, that means that you must give people attribution. That means you must give them credit. So in your blog post, you will be including the name of the person who owns the image and a URL link back to where you found that image. This circle here, with what looks like a back to front C, is share alike. And all that means is you're allowed to use that image or that piece of work and you can make some changes to it. But if you do that, then you must repost it on the internet under the same license conditions. This attribution here is fairly obvious. It means you can't make any money from whatever you're using the image in. So if you're using this image in a newspaper and you're selling that newspaper, you cannot use the image. You must be using it for non-commercial purposes. And this image here, it means that you are not allowed to alter the original piece of work. You can use it, you can copy it, you can distribute it, you can display it, but you cannot change it in any way. So now let's take a look at how you can get an image from Compfight and embed it in your blog post. Embedding means that you are eliminating the need to find an image, download it to your computer, and then re-upload it to your blog. We often don't upload to our blog because we don't have very much space, so we try to embed as much digital media as possible. So here I am in the back end of my blog with a post entitled Embedding an Image in a Blog Post, and I'm going to show you how I would go about getting an image and putting it in a blog post. I'm going to open a new tab and type in compfight.com. When you first go to Compfight, you have to put in the search term, and today I'm going to search for balloons. You can see before your very eyes a whole lot of images appearing about balloons, but I have to make sure on the left sidebar that I have Creative Commons in black, Show Originals, and my Safe Search on. By default, the Safe Search is always on, and so is Show Originals, but not the Creative Commons. You must make sure that you click Creative Commons. It's as easy as clicking on it and watching it go black. So now the images before us are all images that the owners have already given us permission to use, as long as we give attribution. So I'm now deciding which image I want for my blog post, and I can scroll down a little bit further, and sometimes you'll see that the safe search isn't 100% foolproof, and sometimes you can get inappropriate images that come up. They're fairly obvious that they're not images that you would be wanting to use for your blog post, so don't even click on them. I kind of like this really bright one up here. I think I'm going to choose this one. Oh, and I need to point out over here on the right hand side, these images that do look really good, they belong to Shutterstock. They're not free. So don't click on those ones, and you can see this divider line of dots. And that lets you know that all the photos on that side of the dot, on the right hand side of the dot, you have to pay to use those images. So I'm going to choose this image here, and as I run my mouse over it, I can see what measurements it is. Now you need to know that a minimum size is 600 by 600, and as long as both sides measure more than 600, it's a good size for you to use in your blog post, and in any other presentation for that matter. You can always make an image smaller, but you cannot make a smaller image bigger. So now I click on the image that I want, and a new tab will pop open, and it takes me straight to the page on Flickr where this image is. Now I do really like this image, and it is the one that I want. So now I click the share button, and I am after the HTML code. It's the HTML code that allows me to embed an image in my blog post. So remember the arrow. It means that there's more to me than meets the eye, and as the arrow drops down, the code is revealed, and I have to change the side. Remember what I said about 600 by 600? If I drop the arrow down, I can choose the medium size. Sometimes you'll find that some images aren't the right size for you, so that means that you have to find an alternative one. Now this one is 541 by 640. For the purposes of my blog, that's an okay size. If I was looking for it for a keynote or a PowerPoint, it wouldn't be good enough. Now I click inside the dialog box that has the HTML code, and that will highlight it all, and I use Command-C to copy the code. Now I go back to my blog post. I keep the other tabs open. Now this is really important. At the moment we're in the visual editor. You need to be in the HTML editor because that's what you have, HTML code. So now I click inside the body of my post and click Command-V, and there is the code for embedding my image. If I click back on the visual editor, that shows me that my image is appearing in my blog post nice and tidy. And then what I can do is I can preview to make sure that it's not too big for the size of my blog. And as you can see, my blog has quite a lot of space in the body, so it's fine. You might have to adjust the size for yours. So I'm going to close the tab that's the preview of my blog, and I'm going to show you how you can very easily reduce the size. And remember, you can make the picture smaller, but you cannot make it bigger. So be careful about how small you make it in the first place. There are two ways to resize the image. I can just grab the corner here and move it in, and there you can see the measurements of the picture, and I can move them in like that, and that's one way to size a picture. The other way to size the picture is to click on the picture and the picture button appears, and here you can reduce the size in 10%. Now remember, once you've reduced it from 100% down, you can't increase it again. I click on 90%, click update, it will automatically reduce the size. And that's how you embed an image in a blog post. But we're not done yet. Remember that the terms of the license And if we go back to the page where I got the code from, scroll down and you can see this has been licensed. It's attribution, not commercial, and no derivatives. So that means I can use it, I must give credit, I can't make any money, and I can't alter it. Now I need to do the attribution part. This is the URL that we are interested in, and you'll see here that this is the address to where the actual photo is. And usually after the word photos is the ID of the Flickr account, and in this case this person doesn't have a name in their URL, and this is the number of the photograph. So I click once in the URL address bar, Command C to copy that link, and I just make a note over here that this is the name of the person who owns the picture. Now they have a username and they also have a real name. Use the real name if it's there for your credit. On a blog post, you usually find the credit right at the bottom of the post, but there's also another place where you can put it. Let's click on the picture again and click on the little picture icon, and you can see that you can put a caption. And so down here in my caption, I'm going to put image attribution, and I'm going to give that attribution to Joe Peniston, and then I'm going to paste the link, update. And now when I preview my post, you'll see that at the bottom of the image is that attribution. Another way that I could give attribution is to just put it at the bottom of the blog post, exactly how we just filled in the caption, image attribution, Joe Peniston, and then the link. And then you actually do need to hyperlink it. And I've still got that hyperlink on my clipboard, and add the link, and now anybody can click on that link and be taken to that website where that picture is. And so now you can see the two ways that I can attribute. So that's all for today. I hope you find these instructions easy to follow, and I just want to remind you about this inside.isb.ac.th/rm231 virtual blog. This is the blog where I have lots of things on it to help you use technology in the classroom. And if you go to the category How To, you'll see that there are a couple of other ways to embed Creative Commons images in a blog post. This one is using Wileo. Wileo is a little bit more involved than Comfite, but what Wileo does is a really good job of stamping the attribution right here in the picture for you, but you do have to have an account. And there is also a tutorial here on how you can embed a YouTube.